This is the stream that you share with your friends and family. Let's orange pill every single person we know. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. Today, we have to talk about the government's war on money. That's right. We're seeing this over and over, not only in the last day with some of these actions that are being brought upon from the SEC with Gary Gensler bringing these charges against UNISWAP, but we're seeing it also in Europe. We're seeing it with the debasement of our money. We're seeing everything that we've worked so hard for in our life. Every second you've worked towards any job, the governments are saying that your time is not valuable. In fact, we want to limit how much your money is worth by inflating money to that top 1%. But this isn't about that. This is about what is our mechanism to be outside of that system? What is the mechanism? How can we fight back to make sure that we can stay and get ahead in this world? So that's what we're talking about today. If you are here right now, you are at the forefront of this change. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. Everybody let me know if there's any audio, visual, anything issues right now. I had some issues connecting with YouTube a second ago. It's as if YouTube and the government are in collusion of not wanting this information to get out. So let's go through it. I got some very important charts today. I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with the dollar as well as where we're at with Bitcoin and what's going on with this crypto market. So let's talk about it. Let's dive into it right now. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Kelly Kellum. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. We're here Monday through Friday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern time, breaking down tools, resources, unbiased looks at the market and how we can navigate this so we can change our future. We can participate in doing better and being able to help people better. That's what this is about. So talking about the big news that popped out yesterday, and this is going to sort of usher our way into the discussion today about what's going on with the monetary system, why Bitcoin and why crypto is so important, and what's going on with this bull market. Are we going to have another push to the upside? Are we going to have a sell-off? Is this time different? Let's talk about it. Well, the SEC just declared war on crypto, says Altcoin Daily. UNISWAP is the largest decentralized exchange in existence. This is very important. If you're not understanding what this means, this keyword, decentralized exchange, this is what is important to consider right now. Essentially, what this word could just say instead of decentralized, if you don't understand this, or if you're having trouble wondering why this matters, because this means freedom. We're in the US, right? A country that is based on the tenets of this idea. What we're now coming to realize is just a premise of freedom. And in this case, UNISWAP is the largest decentralized, AKA freedom exchange in existence, has over 2 trillion in total volume since launched in 2018, ranked number 1 in most metrics, including 6.1 billion in total value locked. That's what TVL is here. And today, Uniswap Labs received a Wells notice from the SEC. This is typically the step right before a lawsuit. This is like the SEC suing the NASDAQ and then expecting tech stock trading to continue in the United States. It wouldn't. It would all be pushed offshore. We are supposed to be at the forefront of technological revolution. Even if we take the US and are standing on a hierarchy or any of these nonsense things that we try to do as humans, creating these categorical tribalism about this competitive nature, let's all build and share together. But if we take all that aside and just talk about a software service that is distributed, that many people are participating in, it's not a centralized entity, it's not Enron, it's not FTX, it's not the US government or the Fed. It is a decentralized mechanism that allows us to trade goods. In this case, this good is the different crypto assets that we have. Sometimes it's not even trading for value. Sometimes it's saying, hey, I want to change this coin into this coin. It's not everybody out here trading, trying to leverage your future into basically being a day trader. No, this is a mechanism of exchange. In exchange, remember in the US Constitution, there's a tenet in there about the freedom of exchange. So what's going on? What is going on with all this? So let's talk about this. And this is going to tie into all the things we're going to talk about today, because this is just one more feather in the cap of failure for Gary Gensler. So let's talk about it right here. Sometimes You have to laugh or else you'll cry. This is from Paul Grewal, who is I think he's the chief legal officer, or he's on the legal team over there at Coinbase. He said, question is, how can you square the SEC, Gary Gensler's claim that Uniswap acts as a broker with the courts ruling against the SEC government just a handful of days ago? Just a few days ago, the SEC was slammed by courts for some of the charges and allegations they were bringing against various different protocols in the crypto ecosystem. In this case, we're talking about Coinbase saying secondary exchange, which is exactly what a DEX is. Trading of value on the secondary market, which is what a DEX is not a security. And so it's going to be interesting to see what's going on, how this sort of pans out, and if this is just a further attempt by the SEC and the U.S. government and the Fed to limit our access to participate in freedom. That's essentially what's happening here. And we can see right here from Marvin Amori said, today's Wolves notice against Uniswap is disappointing, but it's not unexpected from this. Yes, that's right. This SEC, not the SEC in general, but the administration that we have right now. And who knows if it has to do with presidents. Let's not get political, but the current people that are in power right now on both sides of the aisle, there's a handful of people on both sides that are just fervent, absolute, they're battle tested against basically defending against us as U.S. citizens being able to have freedom, being able to transact, being able to participate in our future, because it takes the control away from the U.S. government on that U.S. dollar. And this is what's going to be so exciting to talk about here in just a moment, because I got some charts that are going to blow you away. And it's just another abuse of power. Unsurprising from an SEC that last month the federal judge ruled committed a gross abuse of power by lying in court about crypto projects. So this is important for us to consider, all these things going on right now. We can also see stable coins. It's not just the U.S. government. It's many governments around the world. Stablecoin delistings in Europe spell change for crypto exchanges. If I scroll down here, we can see right at this point, a harder task for offshore stablecoin issuers. For non-European stablecoin issuers, the requirement for the issuer to have an entity established and authorized in an EU, European Union member state is the most significant unique cost. The reason why this is so interesting is because we are at the crux right now. Let me say this. We're at the crux right now of finally settling into some of the technological advancements that we had from the Industrial Revolution. We're just getting used to being able to call somebody on the phone, let alone text them. And then now we have social media. Yes, things are moving fast. And what we have right now installed in every government around the world, this is not unique to the US, is essentially people that should have been retired 15 years ago, or read a book that's outside of their bubble, or acknowledge specifically what they're getting paid to lobby for or against. You look at some of the people and what they talk about and what they say they support, and then you just say, hey, who's paying your campaign finance bills? That will tell you which direction they're going to vote. So when we see things like this with stablecoins, and we're not only stablecoins with Uniswap, what we saw with XRP, which is still ongoing after 3 years, what we're seeing now with Coinbase in the US government is not, and this is very important for anybody out there that's watching me for the first time, that's just now starting to get a little bit more information about crypto. This is very important information, because what's happening right now is essentially an organized fear, uncertainty, and doubt campaign, which is, we call here in crypto, FUD. That's what FUD stands for, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It is a mechanism of manipulation of a narrative to get you to go emotionally one way or the other. In this case, many members, and not all, I have some people that I can absolutely shout out here. Cynthia Loomis is one of them, Senator Cynthia Loomis. But we can also say, and Tim Scott as well, they are coordinating, not just in the U.S. government, but many governments around the world, against something that offers access to people that haven't had access before. Let's put the people that are going to get rich off crypto completely to the side. That's, when you think about it in the scheme of things, it's the top, 2 to 5% are really going to get wealthy on crypto. Most people are going to lose their money, not because crypto is bad, because we don't teach financial education in this country. I'm not sure about other countries, but we don't teach people how to manage the process of negotiating your emotions to navigate this market and to buy low and sell high. However, we are at the crux of just getting used to the industrial revolution's technological investments. Now we have the digital revolution, Internet 7.0, the connectivity of not just the internet, but what blockchain and Bitcoin and decentralized crypto protocols represent is something so much far and beyond what the word cryptocurrency suggests. I think the biggest failure in the crypto market is the fact that we took on the nomenclature, that we took on the word, we took on the title cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency is a misnomer for what this asset class, for what this technology, for what this evolution is. Crypto assets, digital assets, blockchain, this is what this asset space is all about, because it provides a new mechanism that allows us globally to trust the results of the things that we are participating in. We don't need to rely on 7 different third parties. We don't need to pay and support a $7 trillion industry because we don't trust each other. If you put things and code them into the blockchain and have them verifiable with the different oracles, there's so many different things and mechanisms within this blockchain ecosystem that absolutely revolutionize every way that we do any bit of business or document any sort of data. Now think about everything in your life that uses people, that does business, and uses data. Every fucking thing that we do uses these things these days. Data is the new oil. So my question right now is for not just the US government, but it's for governments the world over. Can we get some sort of active movement towards truth, not trust? We can't trust each other. We don't trust you. You don't trust me. We need verifiable proof, and that's what blockchain does. In addition to that, in order to get there, we need to be humble as representatives of people. If you are a politician out there, I'm speaking directly to you. Ask who's paying your campaign finance bills. Ask who is basically buying you gifts. Who is ushering you towards those things in your life that you are not getting on your government paid salary, Nancy Pelosi? Ask yourself, how can we look to the future? If we want change, we have to do things differently. And in order to do things differently, we also need to recognize there have been processes, there have been mechanisms, there has been certain ways of thinking. How we test is a great example, and how we're trying to determine a security. That was also developed in the 30s before computers even existed. And now we have blockchain technology, and you're trying to weigh the idea of securities and get it's fucking nonsense. And yes, I'm sorry I have to curse, because that's what this is right now, with governments the world over failing to see that this technological revolution of Bitcoin and blockchain, not every crypto asset, some are going to fail. But you know what? 95% of businesses fail within the first 4 years or something like that. So does that mean business should be outlawed? You're out of your mind. There's so many positive, net positive. Freedom. Freedom is the number one net positive. You know how many billions of people? There's over, I think it's 1.5 billion people around the world that are unbanked. There's somewhere around 1 to 2 billion people that do not have any ability to get a government identity. There's so many mechanisms beyond, oh, this person made some money or they minted a coin. No, there's technology here that changes the future. And in order for us, and we all want a better future, we all feel like, throw a 1 in chat if you're watching this, or comment down below if you agree with me here. We all feel like there are many things in this world that have gotten significantly better, but there's so many things that are becoming so much more apparent now that are getting so much worse. And it's scary, the trend that's shown on. Yes, we have digital media now where we're all aware of these things at a more lightning rate, and things are a lot more visible, more readily and more easily. So it feels like things are worse than they were in past, but we have to recognize things are better than they've ever been before. But the things that are bad and that are coming to our awareness, we now have a higher responsibility to go after fixing those issues, helping other people. I do not want to live in the Hunger Games where I'm living in this beautiful country and there's people somewhere else where I'm mad that my iPhone costs this much, when in reality, the only reason your iPhone can cost this much is because there is some sort of sweatshop labor somewhere. And yet we're complaining about the sweatshop labor, but we also want this price of this phone down lower. So there's responsibility here within the politicians as well as us as individuals. And in order for us to have a chance at meaningful change into the future, we need to integrate this technology. So in order to integrate this technology, we need regulation, meaningful regulation, not some cooked up bullshit regulation based on premises and ideas by people who don't even understand how to use a freaking mouse. And they're telling me that they think that Bitcoin is a scam. The fucking US dollar is a scam. And I'm cursing right now, and I don't mean to, but I am mad and I am upset with the absolute mismanagement of what's going on around the world, and then the limitation on the thing that actually is truth and does provide trust. So let's talk about that. I'm going to show you exactly why I believe this. And if you're watching a portion of this video, make sure you head over to the BitLab Academy page on YouTube, youtube.com/@BitLab and follow us. Follow us here because we are sharing stuff on a daily basis, giving you tools, tips, resources, and strategies to navigate this Bitcoin and crypto market, as well as understanding how we can step into our future in a better way. So with that being said, I just want to say, let's dive into some of these charts. And man, I got a little heated this morning, but hey, you know what? I'm okay with it, and I put my name on it. My name is Kelly Kellum, and I stand for truth. I stand for stepping forward, and sometimes things get a little dirty when you do that. So let's do it. Let's jump in, and let's get her done. If you guys are getting behind what I'm saying today, and I apologize for the language, drop me a 1 in chat. Drop me a bullish emoji. Drop me something positive in the chat. I hope you all can hear and see me. The live chat, unable to connect to chat. Please try again. I don't know how to make that connect. Let me refresh that page. There we go. All right. Hell yeah. Let's do it. Let's talk about I had to refresh the page there, but I got you all here. I got 133 people in this room and only 44 of you agree with what I'm saying. And that's okay. I apologize if you don't agree with me because there's only 44 likes. So hit that like button, show some love. Let's talk about these charts. Let's talk about what the hell is going on here, because it's not just the Uniswap thing. It's so much beyond that. Looking right here. Check this out. This right here, this post right, yes, this right here, the mismanagement or the management of our monetary system shouldn't be political tools. Bitcoin is the only asset that can help prevent this. If you were to, I watched through this morning. If you watch through this is one of the, I forget what the title is, the principal economist at the Fed, works directly with Jerome Powell. In fact, writes some of his speeches. Talks about the politicization of what they're doing with interest rates. And they're political. I like this person, I don't like that. That's fine. The Fed should be about the American people. But remember, everybody needs to realize the Fed is not a government organization. The Fed is a private institution installed by basically the World Bank leaders. And we basically bow to the Fed to basically shape our monetary policy. And ask yourself, do you feel like things are getting better? Do you feel like things are staying manageable? We have all these narratives going back and forth in every direction. But I do want to say, I want to shout this gentleman out right here. Let me go ahead and pause this. This is very important. This is Tim Scott. He says here some very important things, because this kind of alludes to not only what I was just talking about. Micah Hall says, Kelly for Congress. I don't know if I wouldn't pass the background check, but you know what? My background is great, but they would politicize the hell out of the fact that I ran a sound camp at Burning Man for 12 years. They would forget that I'm also a retired Air Force. They would forget that I also studied anthropology at Columbia University. They would forget that I also traveled the world, lived all around the country. I know people. I speak to people. I try to be the most authentic version of myself that I could be. But let's listen to what Tim Scott here says, because this goes back to this discussion we're having about crypto and the dollar. And this, I just want to give props where they're due. Cynthia Loomis, Tim Scott, two of the people in the space that are making some meaningful statements that actually are weighted in some understanding of what the hell is going on here. So let's hear what he's got to say.
The bottom line is this, that if $35 billion represents the export of oil from Iran, none of which is purchased using digital assets, having a conversation simply and exclusively about digital assets misses the elephant in the room, that every single time we make it easier for the Iranian regime to receive resources from the United States in cash, pallets of cash, or through electricity waivers, use euros or license, we put more and more Americans and our allies in harm's way, and that includes Israel. And so for us to have a conversation that sounds like a digital asset conversation, the bottom line is this.
So if you didn't catch what he's saying here, because it's a little convoluted, they have these different statements and reports and all these things that have come out over the last, 15 years, but specifically in the last 3 years, where they're getting this report, if there's some terrorist event somewhere on the other side of the globe, it was funded by cryptocurrency. No, it wasn't. They've proven these things wrong. It's such a minuscule percentage of any of these illicit activities. Illicit activity is large in part done on the US dollar. And that's not just limited to the US. This is the US dollar globally. Banks, JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, you name the bank. They have hundreds of billions of dollars that they bank from known money launderers, from known drug cartels, from known sex traffickers. And yet Bitcoin and crypto is the issue. Why would you resist something here's the deal. Here's the FUD. You say that this is the thing that's done with illicit activities because it can't be traced. You're lying out your ass already right there, because we've all seen, we all know, and if you don't know, then that means you put your head under a rock if you're a politician, that every transaction that happens in the history of Bitcoin is on the blockchain ledger. That's why it's called a blockchain. It's a ledger. You have a sheet of paper. I write down, I gave this to Steve, and then Steve gives this to Frank, and then Frank gives this, and then, okay, this block is full. Let's staple that. Let's put a new one. Okay, now Frank gave it to Leslie, and Leslie gave it to, okay, now this is full. And you have a running tally that never ends on that blockchain ledger. You would think that governments would be smart enough, and this is where it gets scary. You would think that governments are smart enough to realize if they think that there's some issue with illegal activities anywhere, they should want it on the blockchain. They should want it in the crypto ecosystem, because it comes immediately, intrinsically more traceable. And their argument is, there's illicit activities on crypto because, it could be anonymous. It is proven that that's not the case. It is built into the protocol of the technology. So earlier I was talking about freedom for crypto, but it's also safety for public, because we can see transparently what everybody's doing. So the question is, the only thing I can surmise from this is, what's the real reason the government doesn't want these crypto assets to be expanded and adopted? Does this mean they want to limit transparency? That's all I can think of here. Let me know what you think. Comment down below the video and let me know what you think on that. So digital assets being wrapped up into this nature of all these, it's just complete bananas. The government is at war with money right now, and they are at war with keeping control of money. And today we're getting fired today. We're not doing all the TA like we normally do. We'll do some at the end, but we got to talk about what's going on so that we can best prepare and have the right things. You see, I got a new hat too. I feel like this is going to be my crypto streaming hat, because I feel like this is official. Like I'm about to drop some knowledge here, and I am. So this comes back to what we're talking about right here. Kim.com says we're getting close to the main event. Remember what we're talking about: government's war on money and the tool of money as a mechanism to stimulate, limit, or control war as well. So not only the limiting behavior of how you can participate and be involved in this, but what we can see here is the collapse of the U.S. empire. Okay, maybe this is a little clickbaity, but truly what they're trying to prevent the collapse of the US dollar. Big unloading of US debt. We have over $34 trillion in debt. And now because we've used money as a mechanism of economic pressure with Russia when they did the thing, that took everybody's confidence out of what's going on with the US and holding the dollar as that bellwether, with the treasuries and bonds and all these different things. So the U.S. government bonds are now a toxic asset. What did I just say? Gold is up 30% in 6 months. Money printing is all they have left. And we keep talking about this global liquidity. I keep showing it to you on the show here every day. There's principles and fundamental things that are within Bitcoin itself that are going to see Bitcoin prices going higher. And as a result, a lot of the rest of the crypto market. In addition to that, one of the major fuel points for all this is also going to be global liquidity. So this money printing. So at some point, they're going to have to print some money, not only the US, but China, the big two. The Ponzi scheme is over. Expect soaring inflation and massive crash. So this is what the Fed's been trying to do, right? They've been trying to think about this. The last 3 years, I mean, since COVID, really, all economic discussions and discussions about money have been centered around what's the Fed going to do? When are rate cuts? When are rate rises? When are rate cuts? You know, I mean, I never thought it once a month I'd be sitting there watching, okay, what the hell is Jerome Powell saying? I don't care, but we have to because there's no playbook that's understood by everybody and it can change at any given time. So when we talk about this, what does this mean? Shocking start of the year, right here. Shocking start of the year. Inflation has not fallen in a single month since January 2021. Let me say that again. Inflation has not fallen in a single month since January 2021, according to Zero Hedge. This means that overall prices are up a whopping 19%. What are they saying? We're somewhere around 3%, right? In less than 4 years. We have not had a single year-over-year inflation print below 3% in 36 consecutive months. Furthermore, inflation has been above the Fed's 2% target for 37 straight months. So they have that 2% target. We've been above it for 37 straight months, and yet somehow things are still manageable, right? We're bringing inflation down. Shut your mouth. Inflation is now building on previous years of inflation. We effectively have compounding inflation. And this is only going to get worse as they have to. They have to. It's not like, should they do it? They literally have to print more money to service just the interest on the debt that we already have. Do we understand what's going on here? But don't worry. The labor market's strong. Oh, but then remember, then they came out about 2 weeks ago and told us that they misquoted like 6 months worth of data. Yeah, they didn't misquote it. They were fudging the numbers and they hope they'd sweep that under the rug. And we see, okay, we were talking about this and I mentioned this yesterday, but we cover it again here right now. While CPI inflation was 3.5%, they say, remember, they're not including transportation, gas, housing, all the things that really matter to you living. They don't include that in this inflation report because we can see car insurance, 22%, transportation, 10%, car repairs, 10%, hospitals, 7.5%. And they're not giving us healthy food. So you can also expect all of us are going to spend a lot more money in hospitals. Homeowners inflation, 5.9%, rent inflation. Nothing here is at 3.5 or below. Everything that they're telling us, not only are they printing money, devaluing your hard work, but they're also lying to you about the value of the money you currently have. Does that make sense? Does that make you feel good? Does that make you want to go and invest in putting money in your savings account, which technically speaking, we should sue the US government over because a savings account should yield you more money than you put in over time, right? But even if that were the case, the value of your money within that same period is devalued, by which you are losing money even by holding money in a savings account. I don't even know what to say. I mean, golly. We're getting spicy today, everybody. I hope it's okay. Throw a 1 in chat. Throw a bowl in chat. Throw something in there. Throw the crazy chicken in chat if you're a BitLab member here. Because we're talking about real things today. We can look at the 5-minute chart and say, where is it going to move up? Right now, this is what matters because we need to have these talking points and this consideration when we're discussing with somebody that says, but I don't understand Bitcoin. Well, tell me how your damn credit card works. You can't. You're used to using it, so you use it. I don't trust it. Well, tell me how the dollar works. Well, I don't know. It's backed by gold. Nope. We're going to get into that in a second. So here we go. My favorite page on the St. Louis Fed site. This is from Dr. Jeff Ross, buying eggs with Bitcoin. Very easy mechanism to see if the value of Bitcoin is going up or down, as we can also see it as it relates to the dollar. In US dollars, eggs are up 41.7% from 211 to 299. This is from 2015 to 2024. Eggs are up 41, over 40, almost 42%. In Bitcoin, the cost of eggs, and this is the same with houses, this is the same with cars, this is the same with everything. This is the same right now if you have kids. Right now, if you have kids and you're trying to save in this fake money thing called the US dollar for your kids' education and put it in and save it for college, I guarantee, and this is not financial advice, this is data advice. I guarantee if you put money into Bitcoin instead, you will have to invest or save a fraction of the amount that you would if you put it in US dollars. Take you less time, it'd be more durable, it'd be a more value in that same period of time. In fact, you probably have some extra at the end to buy the kid a car or a house. The value of Bitcoin is going up over time. The US dollar is failing. Where do you want to put your money? That's questions we got to ask ourselves. Yeah. So coming back over here. So this is a US dollar inflation of eggs, buying eggs with, and then we see this is buying it with Bitcoin. Look at this. This means the amount of Bitcoin you need over time to buy the same amount of stuff, you need less and less Bitcoin to buy more and more stuff. If this isn't clear, I don't know what data can make it clear. Let's talk about the dollar. Here's the dollar. You're on the fence, even if you're here in the market. And I'd love everybody to be honest right now. You're here, you're participating. Even if you're just watching this, you're participating in this market in some capacity. Do you still have some questions about the legitimacy of Bitcoin? Throw one in chat if you do. It's okay if you do. And maybe that's part of your risk matrix where, okay, maybe I'm only going to put a smaller amount till I learn more. And that's something we all need to acknowledge. Now, the question will be different if we're talking about crypto. And I think of Bitcoin and crypto as different things because crypto has a slew of 30,000 plus different, altcoins, layer ones, layer twos, DeFi, real world asset tokenization, meme coins. It's hard to make sense of what the hell's what, right? And the truth is the large majority of all those altcoins are going to fail. So there is some question in terms of your timing, your time horizon, and your strategy when you're buying altcoins. I have a ton of altcoins right now. So I'm not knocking that, but we have to be real about what the long-term effects are going to be of holding. Say you had $10,000 and you had to put it in altcoins. Are you confident all of those altcoins, each one that you get, are going to be here in 10 years? I know in my portfolio right now, I don't think that's the case, but I also know that my time horizon and my profit strategy along the way between now and the next 5 years, the next 10 years, is going to see me taking positions and riding where I feel like a market cycle is going to have a strong bullish impulse, as we are likely going to see in 2024 into 2025. All the data indicates that. We're going to get into those the crypto charts here in just a second. But I'm going to be using the altcoin profits, which I feel like the run up on some of these altcoins is going to move somewhat faster than Bitcoin because they're smaller projects, but they carry a lot more risk. And then as they push up, harvesting some of those profits into Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin is going to be the long-term asset. And I'll use other more risky plays. And we have to know that know every coin you have outside of Bitcoin is exponentially more risky, especially the further down the market cap rankings you go. But when we talk about the US dollar, this is when the Fed was created. This wasn't always part of the government. And remember, it's not part of the government. This is the Wall Street crash right here, 29. The value of the dollar went up for a short period of time. Now, remember this. We always talk about that inverse relationship with dollars and assets. Remember, this is when the market crashed. So the market was going down. Like a huge crash. Great Depression, all this. Look at the value of the dollar goes up. So in some ways, you could say you kind of only want the dollar to go down. Because we've seen with these huge economic collapses, that's when the dollar gets strongest. And then it was somewhere around this time as well that the U.S. government confiscated gold. Gold was supposed to be, gold was supposed to be something that was, this. We have freedom to transact and it's the safe, but no, you're no longer allowed to hold this. Everybody had to turn in their gold. Then we had the Bretton Woods Agreement right here. This is where the government came. This actually might have been where the gold thing was, yeah. And then we had 1971-ish. It was about right here where we came off the gold standard, meaning the dollar is not backed by gold. Anybody that ever tells you that, well, I trust the dollar because it's backed by, it's not. It hadn't been backed by gold for 50 years. Is that even longer? Let's see, 50 years, 50 plus years. Then we had the oil crisis, and we had the dot-com bubble, then we had all these different things. But the value of the dollar, this is a story we're looking at. And then we can see right here. Let me just see, super chat from Aaron Kubak said, if only one can be chosen, what would you bet on Mint Layer or Stacks for this year and maybe 2025 as well? I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to pull up this thing so I can make sure to get back to it. We're going to get into the crypto charts in a second, but we're talking about the failing US dollar and the trajectory it's on. And all of us should be sharing at least clips of this with your friends and family, because all of us are basically the firsthand accounts that we can share if we share meaningful info with our friends and family. Don't go out and do like a Tupperware party where you're trying to sell them Bitcoin. People have to make their own decisions. But understanding that the US dollar is on a downward spiral, and the only mechanism to continue doing what we're doing in the US alone is to print more money just to service the debt we already have. By printing more money, the value of the dollar goes down, and therefore, the only way you can protect your future and the energy you spent to earn your money and to store money into the future. I'm not even talking about growing money. That's also a great byproduct of this. The only way you can do it is stepping out of the US dollar. Now we can see right here. Now, why is this? This is the Bitcoin inflation and monetary base. So we can see this is the inflation of Bitcoin. Do you see this? Now, people that are deep in the dollar do not understand this. This is what the halving is. Every 210,000 blocks, which is roughly 4 years. It's about 3 years and 10 months. And we have the next halving's coming up here in about 9 days. The amount of new Bitcoin, you know how we print dollars just to infinity, the trillions and trillions. It's on an upward slope like this. The new Bitcoin is on a programmed, scheduled basis. Everybody understands. And we're going to get into why that's important in a second. I'm going to show you some really bullish charts. This is incredible. We can understand this. Now we can understand how to form, track market cycles around it. We can understand when the debasement, and in this case, it's so small. We're at 6.25, I think, Bitcoin per block right now, every 10 minutes, right? We have 900 a day. After April 20th, we'll have 450 a day, new Bitcoin, and that's going to reduce in 4 years for another. So it gets halved further and further down. And all this is now not just a US thing. We're seeing things like the ETF having record. Did I skip something here? Yeah, we're having the ETFs showing record amounts of interest, and not just interest, people buying into them. BlackRock is the number one. I said it right here. Yeah. BlackRock's iShares, IBIT, has been the winner of the Bitcoin spot ETF inflows with the roughly blah, blah, blah. Great. IBIT, BlackRock Bitcoin spot ETF, is the fastest growing ETF in the history of any ETF of any type of asset ever. That includes gold, that includes Vanguard, that includes anything you've ever thought of that was an ETF. BlackRock, AKA the Bitcoin spot ETF by BlackRock is showing more interest, and by interest, I mean capital actually voting with their dollars, saying this is where we want to put our money. And this has only been 14 weeks in the making. So you tell me where you want to be putting your money. We also see South Korea, pro-Democratic Party, just won their national election to form government. We're going to allow the ETFs, domestic and overseas. More than 6 million South Koreans, over 10% of the population own Bitcoin or crypto. What happens then when you add the easy access funnels here for corporations and people that are outside of just the, the degen, like, let's get in and trade? Because this is still somewhat difficult for newcomers. That's why I'm here with BitLab Academy. I want to show you guys how to do this. But ETFs make it easy for everybody. I don't know if you all watched that short that was at the beginning that I released this week, but I released earlier today with Mark Yusko. But a lot of people, I would argue, probably the majority of people in 5 years, let me say this. I would argue that the majority of the people in 5 years' time will have Bitcoin by way of the ETF, not by private holding. Because the ease of access through this, yes, it is centralized. It's a centralized thing. But most people don't understand the value of this decentralized and your keys, your crypto. People are going to buy the ETF for convenience. People are going to buy the ETF for ease. We can see that BlackRock is the largest ETF that's been launched in the history of any ETF in terms of how fast they've grown with the capital that they've accumulated in just 14 weeks. The majority of people in this world will have their exposure in Bitcoin through to ETFs, I believe. But all of those lucky few, you that are here, even before these BlackRock and other Bitcoin spot ETFs were launched, you're going to be in a position that others could only dream of. And all it takes right now is diligence, education, and patience. Take your shots, but be smart and let the market do the work, because this is something that hasn't even begun to explode. I cannot wait to see where this goes. Now, we got a couple more charts and we got some magic here to share with you. So we've seen this around the world. Korea. We talked about this the other day. Hong Kong, South Korea, Chinese fund managers. We're seeing the signs of life here. The flows are kind of chopping back and forth, but this is known based on where we're at in the market cycle. We're at a previous all-time high. We had a little bit of a hiccup here. Why would we not see this little consolidation? It looks like nothing when we're zoomed out. Well, let's remember what we're doing right now. It's going to look like nothing before the slingshot takes us higher. Again, it takes diligence, education, and patience. That's what it takes. So we're seeing these ETFs flow back and forth, but I do think something beautiful is coming this year into 2025. Now we can also see right in here, U.S. Bitcoin ETF net inflows outpace new coin creation by at least 1 billion per month. Do you understand what this means? That the net inflows already in under 14 weeks of these Bitcoin spot ETFs launching, the purchasing power from these ETFs is eclipsing the amount of new Bitcoin that is being released right now. We're about to have a halving and the issuance is being cut in half. That adds an extra demand layer on the market just by reducing the supply. You see, when you reduce the supply, the Bitcoin halving, you immediately have that equal effect on the demand. You can have no new demand and then cut the supply in half, and the demand has twice the effect on the available supply. So what is coming, we can't even know how to prepare for other than buy, hold, and share it with your friends, because this market, I'm telling you, I'm just getting fired up today. I was mad at all the dollar stuff when we were talking about the dollar and the inflation and all these things. It was making me mad. But we're getting over here into this Bitcoin section now and talking about these different things and understanding. See, Andrew Tate is now saying, hey, debating this property purchases and sales is like, damn, maybe I should just, just throw it all into Bitcoin. Where did he say it? Boo, 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 boo. Got retired. So gonna ape it all into Bitcoin right there. Andrew Tate, how many followers does he have? Oh, only 9 million. Whether or not you like him or not, that's a influence on a large group of people that may have been on the fence about it. We also saw Grant Cardone, not Gary Cardone, but his brother Grant, who's a real estate magnate. Let me just see this. Grant Cardone net worth. This guy is, massive. This says 600 million, but I've seen much higher. Grant Cardone on $7 billion net worth. He's massive. He has a huge real estate. I won't call it a conglomerate or magnate or whatever. He's just a powerhouse in business and economy and real estate. And he just put his house up for sale in Bitcoin, which his brother Gary, who we've had here on the show, I love Gary. Been to Gary's house in St. Pete, incredible guy. But he was always poking his brother, they're twins, saying, this guy, once he understands, because his brother's a real estate guy, and one of Gary's things is that Bitcoin is the ultimate real estate play, because you don't have, if you want to move your property, because Bitcoin is property, it's a commodity, right? It's digital ownership of this thing. You can move it without, like, if you have a property and a house that you have $45 million house somewhere and a storm comes, yeah, you can have insurance, but it could get destroyed. If you want to move, you can't move your house with you. Bitcoin, you can take that value with you. I mean, I would argue you should just rent and be investing in Bitcoin, but you can see right, where did he post it? Listed right here, and I think it was 646 Bitcoin is what he's listed it for. Do the math on that. It's $45 million. So we're seeing people like this that have huge followings. How many people did follow Grant Cardone? 1 million? That's not to even include all the people that look up to him for being the business mogul that he is. We're seeing the shifting tides. We're seeing the shifting winds, and we're seeing just absolute monster things coming for this market. We can also see, if you're wondering, how come Bitcoin, how can somebody can't they just change it? This is the formula by which Bitcoin operates on. Study this. It's programmed. Let me say this. If you wonder how this magic internet money, Bitcoin, how come somebody can't just create more of it? It's fake. The US dollar is fake. They can't even tell us when they're going to cut rates. They have to manage things because they're printing money out of control. They don't even let us know before it happens. We just see the value of a dollar go down by 96% in the last 40, 50 years. The buying power of your dollar has absolutely evaporated essentially in our lifetime. And that's because we don't understand. Nobody can see a schedule of what the monetary policy is, because it is malleable and they can change it on a whim anytime they need to. They need more money for a war. Let's stimulate the economy. Let's build a bridge. Of course, some of these things are needed. But because we print money infinitely, we don't limit how we're spending, and we spend things on frivolous things. And that's gotten us into this debt bubble that now we have to do things just to service the debt, let alone maintain the type of life we have. Bitcoin has its entire protocol inscribed and shared and distributed on every computer on the Bitcoin network. So you can't change it, because everybody says, these are the rules, these are the tenets, this is how much Bitcoin, we only interact with this type of protocol. And it's essentially it is the largest and strongest computer network in the history. It's stronger than Google, Apple, Amazon clouds combined. And it's essentially like, you can't even understand how strong the security is on this network. It's on the billion times the quintillion metric level of secure networks. Essentially, also because we have all these miners on, and the more miners are on, the more difficult it even becomes. It's essentially unhackable. And I mean, I'm just getting fired up today, guys. No image. What do you mean no image? Well, I was talking. Doing a little cut for a short. Now, we get to this right here. And we've been talking about this for some time. The halving. This is the previous halvings. This is what the market cycles have done, right? We can see all these. This is where we're at right now as these are laid out here. We're coming right up into this halving. But what happens next, you say? Let's go down and let's overlay it. Let's actually overlay it on this one right here. This is actually what I want to do. This is the same. This is the cycles overlaid with the realized price, basically the average price of every Bitcoin on network. The average the last time they moved. It's a very great way to really look at, I don't want to call it a fair value, but the realized value of Bitcoin. And this scale by realized value, the realized price here, look at where we're at in relationship to the halving that's about to come up. And I mean, it's up. I don't know what else to tell you. It's up, baby. We can also see that on, if you scale this by the halving, where is it at? There's another one I want to show you, but yeah, this is coming into the halving, but we can see right here, this is the most bullish part of what's going on. But we saw this sell-off. We saw this black swan. We do see things around this time period. We could have a big sell-off between now and June, between now and July. But I am a net buyer because of all these things that I just talked about. Why would you sell Bitcoin for a less superior asset? Now, I would sell my altcoins for a more superior asset, which is Bitcoin, right? But things are just heating up. And when we look at what's going on right now we're getting into closing it up here in a second, but I got some great crypto charts. I just want to reference this right now. I've talked about this before being where I thought what the actual market cycle top was about the $64,000 level. This was sort of a false top, the secondary push to the upside. And we can also see here in previous cycles, we've had two RSI peaks up into this zone each time. In this case, we just got our first one, but I just want you to notice on this right here, this peak into this peak, we had relatively the same high on the RSI. This peak and this peak, still very similar. There's a little bit of downward angle here, but look what we see on this cycle right here. And then this next top right here, look at how much lower the RSI is. Do you see this? This was due to a lack of sellers because so many people thought it was going to 100,000. There wasn't really that many new buyers coming here. This was a lot of volatility trading. This was an anomaly, sort of a deviation of what we're seeing here. The reason why I bring this up is because when we look at the chart, just notice something. I just literally noticed this while I was setting up for this stream. Previous all-time high at 19,000, basically 19, 20,000. This is where we're having this bit of consolidation. Now let's go ahead and delete this, okay? We're gonna delete that. Now I'm gonna just click on this. We're not gonna use any measurement tool. We're not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna do Command C, or if you're on PC, I think it's Alt C or Control C for copy. Now I'm gonna paste. Now I'm just gonna move this from this area being the top and look at how this lines up. I never noticed this before. The time period from this top to this consolidation, this would not line up if we were like this. You see how much further out this is? Using this as a top, this is where we're getting that consolidation in the exact same time period. So the amount of days, I don't know what it is, but the number of days from this top to this, the amount of time that passed is roughly about the same of this sort of rounding top to this consolidation that we have going on currently right now. Everything is still 100% right on track for where it should be. There's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on right now, and we may see some volatility to the downside. But the volatility to the downside is going to ultimately be an incredible buying opportunity. So don't sleep on that. Don't sleep on this opportunity like we saw right here. When this is dropping, and we know we're coming into a halving, this says, okay, it's time to buy. If we get something like that over here with what's going on with Iran and Israel and Gaza, and I'm not even making any comments about it. I'm just saying from an investor and trader's point of view, there's some things that could happen that could shake up some fear in the market that we could see a large drop, let alone some people, basically a big profit taking. But I just want you to notice, if this was a 4-hour chart, this drop wouldn't be scary. From here to here would not be scary. And in fact, we see these rising channels. And on these rising channels, now we have this zone right in here, which, I mean, basically the upper side of this range, which we never really tested. We got a little bit of a just hesitation here. But testing down here into this $56,000 to $58,000 range would also satisfy coming up here. Remember, we've talked about this a lot, which would also satisfy the short-term holder cost basis, which gets tested regularly. I have to click this 7 times anytime I want it to come up. There we go. Which is, you know, they're at that $58,000 region. And we saw a deviation below before. And remember, when things are so bullish, when the market is so bullish and we have such a bright future ahead of us for what's happening with Bitcoin, and in this case, I would argue that this deviation was probably a result of people having some insider knowledge. Let's push the market very bearish because we know it's going to move back up, right? So they get low buying opportunities. If we have this same sort of thing happen, while we do regularly get the short-term holder cost base tested on the way up, as we can see, test on this dotted line, test, right? We could get a deviation below, even though that doesn't normally happen. We have all these new capital flows. We have so much bullishness coming into this market right now in this coming year and a half that a move down into this area should not scare us. A move down into this area, maybe even lower down into this zone, and then up this area, anywhere really above 38 would be ultimately bullish for me. And I'd be a net buyer. So that's what I got for you today. I love you all. I appreciate you. I'm going to be doing a bunch more TA on the BitLab member stream at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I did drop a link in the Discord. It's on the event page right here on this event area. Just come and RSVP that. If you are a BitLab member here on YouTube, you will be able to watch it as well. I would just advise you to come over here to the community page if you're a BitLab member, and you see I post some stuff in here for members sometime. Come to this community page. I'll be sharing. See, I share links in here. This is where you're going to get the update of how to watch this if you're a BitLab member here. Josh and I are going to be talking about what's going on in the market. We're going to be talking about some coin picks. We're going to be talking about some TA, all that at 3 p.m. for the BitLab members. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Sorry if this stream felt like it went off the rails a little bit. The whole point, like, we can't do 5-minute chart TA every day for an hour. We got to talk about the bigger things going on. I hope that you would find either some comment that I made, some thought that I shared, or even just a clip itself, and share this kind of information with your friends and family. I would just suggest don't be so passionate when you talk to them about it, because it might be off-putting. But I love you guys. I appreciate you. I want you all to succeed. That's what this is all about. Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell, dollar down, Bitcoin up. Let's go. Let's ready to rock. Adios, muchachos. Oh, shout out to all the super chats. My bad. Shout out to the super chats. I said I'd get back to it. Michael Hall, $2. Kelly for Congress. Aaron Kubak, $20. If I could only pick mint layer stacks, I wouldn't only ever have to pick only one. I've split between those. The majority of it going into stacks, mint layer being less because it's a much smaller market cap. It has a higher chance of failure. But if it does rip, that could disproportionately be a larger position anyway. So I hold both those. I love you guys. That's all I got. Adios. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in.